Hello, everybody, and welcome to our February live event with Sparkles and Unicorns, as well as other things. As always, I am Ansel, and with me today is my lovely co host and wife, Crystal.
Hello.
We have a fun little agenda today that we're going to go through a guest spot or a guest lecture, however you want to call it, that we're going to do. And we're going to start it off with the Q&B art show by Crystal.
Hello, everyone. First and foremost, I would like to show off the work in project of custom Q&B Discord server emoji. First, we have, I'm going to have to figure out how to show these up on the later YouTube cast, but here are some emoji. We have got, of course, Silent and Crystal. Silent looking very serious, and Crystal blushing because she's a lady. Whatever you just said probably embarrassed her. Then we have Winterspear and Iridescence. Winterspear being silly as she is often, and Iridescence looking fabulous. And lastly, we have a very excited Azurite and a very flirty Velvet. We have many more of these on the way. Oh, I almost forgot one of the best ones. Sorry. Almost forgot Runic doing science. So we are very excited to be working with an artist by the name of Doe Kitty. She is doing fabulous work, and we have a lot on her plate. I forgot Horsey! I'm a terrible person! I have Horsey crying that Alexander has been kind enough to link because I'm a terrible person.
And that's why she's crying, because everybody forgets
Because
Horsey.
I always forget Horsey! And yes, we also added smoke bombs for Runic because you just gotta have smoke bombs. On the other art docket, just moving away from the fact that I forgot Horsey, we have a pretty epic Silent Night and Sunny Day picture. And then we have 3 pictures by an artist that Ansel has found and has been working with: a Silent Night, a Sunny Day, and an Azurite. They are adorable. Yeah, it's kind of cartoony. It's kind of like, yeah. Saturday morning cartoons. And continuing her wonderful romp through the Q&B cast, we have a new piece of art from Rami. We have our beloved Miley Hooves up to her usual shenanigans. And unless I have forgotten something else that someone wants to remind me of, that is it for the Q&B art show. Please be sure to click those links, give those artists some love and attention.
Love and attention is the best. Alrighty. So thank you for the art show. And we're going to also turn it over to Crystal again for an exciting update on the, I guess this is sort of a combination, but it's the update on Crystal Wishes Once Upon a Dream, also known as the hardcover book project 2, which also features a second printing of Memoirs of a Royal Guard.
Okay, so we, for anyone who hasn't been around the Discord server regularly, I finished the edits that I was doing. We sent it off to the printer to get the first and hopefully only test proofs sent to us, which shall arrive this week, as far as I know, of Crystal's Wishes and Memoir's second printing. I'm really excited to see these books side by side. The covers work together gorgeously. Nalu went above and beyond. Assuming those go well, then we'll place the final order. Speaking of final order, I will be sending out emails, and I will be mentioning here, and I'll be mentioning on FimFiction. I have updated the quillandblade.com website. If you log into your account, go to the account page, there will be a happy little shipping truck icon on the little account sidebar. That will pull up what we have as your shipping address. If that is correct, if it is incorrect, whichever way it is, either fix it or just hit the verify button. That should update the address is not verified to a happy green address is verified. That tells us that you have confirmed that is where we should ship your book. We do not I was going to say, we do not plan to ship without having that the address verified, because there were a couple books that didn't get verified, that didn't make it to their host address for whatever reason. So we had to ship out other copies. That's troublesome for us.
Yes. So just as a reminder to everyone, we do this at a loss. So, yes, you do pay. That is 100%. We're not denying that, but you do not pay enough to cover the cost of what each book costs to be built or printed and shipped, as well as have all the art and all the stuff that goes with it, plus our time. We do this so that there's absolutely no question whatsoever that we are not a for-profit industry and that these are 100% a fan project. So when we lose a book, we're out quite a bit of money. So, and again, we would never try to, hurt people as far as, oh, you didn't do it. But this time around, if you don't click, yes, this is right, we're just going to hold your book till you do. So you'll have a book, it'll be here, it'll just be a hostage. So please verify your shipping address, and you'll hear that more from us. Because again, if this proof goes very, very well, then it will be very soon for these books to go out, and we might actually make the US before Valentine's Day. I'm not promising that. And yes, Nala's going to show us a teaser of the cover.
Hold your horses. They're worth holding on to. They might get so excited and run away when they see it. While she gets that together, I will note, if you have reached out to me with special instructions, or me or Ansel, if you've reached out to anyone, if it wasn't us, then you definitely didn't reach out to the right people, with special instructions, with I need to update my address, and I told you or they told you that it was updated, you still need to double check the website, because I'm forgetful. I will say, okay, I'm going to do this, and then there's your preview.
Yes. The short answer of what Crystal is saying, we've been very, very busy and scatterbrained lately. Don't trust us. So we're going to do it all through the website, because that's a computer, and the computer is heartless. The computer is soulless, and the computer does not get distracted. And yes, that is a preview of the book. Oh, Nalu. She's so funny. And obviously, along with that one, the memoirs proof is going to be on the way. It's not going to be very different. I am kind of curious, though. It should be much smaller than the original. So we'll see how that goes. But we will know by the end of the week.
Yes, we reduced the font size.
Okay. Now, we thought, being that it is Hearts and Hooves month, even though in the Quill and Blade universe, Hearts and Hooves doesn't actually take place in February, does it?
Well, technically there is no February, but that is correct. It happens a
Also
little
true.
later.
Yes, A, there's no February, and B, it doesn't take place in February. But that's okay, because we live in the human world. And in the human world, it's Hearts and Hooves month. And what a better way to celebrate Hearts and Hooves month than some ridiculous cracked shipping. So, Crystal has put together a fun little game for everybody to participate in. And she's going to explain the rules and what the prize is.
So, the rules are very simple. I will tell Azurite to start a poll called the Great Shipping War. Once it has started, you will at Azurite #vote. That just lets her know that you really want to vote. Make it serious, make it count. And then whatever ship really draws you in. And she will assign random points. Pink Pony is in charge of dealing the points, and Pink Pony has a very different opinion of what a good ship is than everyone else. The top 5, once we are done with this, at an indeterminate amount of time, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, depends on how long you guys take. We will stop it. We will tell her to give us the leaderboard, which gives the top 5 of Pink Pony's favorites, and we will choose one of them. We will write a 2,000 to 3,000 word shipfic based on that ship, or involving that ship that wins, and post it on February 14th for Valentine's Day.
Indeed. As a reminder, you can only vote once, so it really needs to be your favorite ship. So, I would like Crystal to open the poll.
Yes, it is QMB characters only, just to make it easier on our lives. QMB characters.
Yes, we're not going to do any others.
And yes, Posted has very kindly linked a large character list.
We're okay with getting tons of different ships. That is perfectly fine. Pink Pony's going to narrow that list down, and then we're going to pick our favorite of the 5. So let's get the floodgate open. And once we have the floodgate's open. The floodgate's open.
Pink Pony doesn't really feel that great about Crystal and Velvet.
Pink Pony's wrong, because Crystal and Velvet's the best.
If people pick the same typed thing, so like that's a funky little X there, If you pick the same type thing, she will consolidate and pick the higher of the two on the leaderboard.
Yes. So multiple votes for the same thing will result in better chances because she may give more points.
Oh, Wing bringing it up to 58 for Crystal and Velvet. Pink Pony is really against the Sunny Day and Azurite. She has to see that every day. She does not want to read about that again. Red and Rosby, however, does seem to tickle her little Pink Pony pickle.
Uh-oh. Sunny and Silent.
Yes, the points are randomly generated by Pink Pony.
Yes.
Whoa. You are going. She likes the spontaneity. Conch Shell and Clarity, yeah, let's do that. Oh, Silent Night and Soren, womp womp.
Pink Pony is actually not super into the Stallion on Stallion. She more prefers the Stallion on Mare on Stallion. Because what does Stallion on Stallion do for Pink Pony? I mean, you know.
Whoa now. Whoa. Look at that. Rosby Waves and Golden Pants at 87 points. Exemplar Feral and Perennial at 84 points. This is going to be some crack writing. I can tell that already.
The stock ticker's going higher. Get your votes in, folks. Get your votes in. Everybody gets one vote. Leave no ship behind. You may have to vote a couple times. Pepperidge and Sunbeam at 99 points. I guess Pink Pony really feels strongly about that. You may have to try a couple times, folks, because it's you have to at Azurite as a just a remote. You have to. She doesn't know you're talking to her if you don't tell her you're talking to her.
Guys, you're being so mean to Azurite. Too much abuse. So she does like the Velvet Step and Captain Brinja. 61 points.
That's kind of hot. But Brinja's pretty straight. But that's what crack pips are funny.
Velvet can change that.
Once you vote, you can't vote again. There's only one vote.
It does not consolidate if spelling is different because how?
Too much programming time for that. All right. So while we take a few more votes on that, we're going to sort of shift over to our next plan. So we have a special guest today, and that's lowercase s special, with a wonderful presentation. And that presentation is going to be from Neon. And the topic of choice is role-playing with Neon. Oh, I'm sorry. Role-playing 101. With or without Neon. By Neon. So we will leave the voting open through Neon's presentation and give everybody a chance. So we're going to take Neon off mute. Neon is off mute, so it is now Neon's time. Neon, educate.
Stallion kisses for everyone. Also, Crystal, I sent you a thing.
You did send me a thing. I shall upload it now. While I upload that, real quick, Nalu had a second teaser that she wanted to share.
A second teaser?
So now I gotta upload that. She's a slow tease.
You don't get disqualified, but Azu can only take one vote. So if you weren't serious, you need to. I don't know what we can do. Crystal can help. How did you vote twice?
She should say has already dealt points, blah, blah, blah.
Interesting.
So it may look like it if you're reading quickly. It all goes to a database, so I will look at everything later. So don't worry about that.
Yeah, we'll check into it. It's okay. All right, so Neon is getting his thing uploaded.
Oh yeah, I will upload it. I was waiting on the teaser, but because I didn't want to have Neon start, then tease, then Neon, and
Isn't that how it works? You get Neon started.
There you go. There it is. So there is your teaser of some beautiful art. Okay, so now I shall upload Neon's thing. It is uploaded. Neon, you have the floor.
Give everyone a moment. That was just open. Basically what that is it's an outline over what I'll be talking about today. I'm just going to take the whole room.
Ooh.
So for those that don't know, I am Neon, and today's class will be on RP 101. This is just a basic foundation to kind of get your feet wet and get started with the lovely roleplay channel that we have, or any roleplay that you might do in the future with anyone. I'm going to cover some basic etiquette first, and then kind of a brief how-to. Well, not as brief as I thought it would be. For etiquette, we're going to start with what's in character, what's out of character. In character is anything that is said, be it action, words, anything. Out of character is usually denoted within our channels by double parentheses. Sometimes I've seen people type OOC to let everyone know. It's essentially you saying one thing to another person, not necessarily from character to character. On that note, too, when you type something, say something, do something, you can't expect people to react the way you want to 100% of the time. I can tell you right now that there have been numerous occasions where I've had to come up with multiple responses for one particular scene, or I thought one scene would break one way and it completely didn't. And you have to be able to work and respond on what is being said within the context of the actual roleplay itself. Another thing to be mindful of is attempting versus forcing. If you're taking an action, for example, there's a fight, you want to give the character a chance to respond properly, such as so-and-so throws a right hook at so-and-so. You want to give that other person a chance to determine whether or not they want their character to be blindsided by the right hook, have a chance to dodge, have a chance to block or counter. You don't want to force something unless it's been predetermined in advance, the outcome of that scene. Additionally, you want to be mindful of scenes that are ongoing. It's considered fairly rude to interrupt a scene, especially if the characters are locked up, no one's there to play, and you just start your own thing expecting others to appear. I, for one, if I'm in a scene and it's not made arrangements prior with anyone else, will not respond to anything because my character will be locked in said scene. One thing to definitely avoid, you as the person in a text-based RP can see everything that is going on. If you apply that to your character, that's being meta. You don't want to do that unless there's been allocations for it. For example, my character of the Major Domo has a network of spies within the palace. So I can comfortably say that anything that occurs within public areas of the palace, hallways, the mess, the courtyard, anywhere but your personal chamber, unless there are major servants in there, it is safe to say Neon will find out. So to a point, I can be meta. But let's say there's an event going on across the country, Neon might not know about that. And more than anything, we're all people here. This is just text. Try not to tear down the person behind the screen. Definitely remember the human that's involved here on both ends. Those are just a few etiquette guidelines. Nothing is definitive. It's essentially using common sense to try and have various social interactions with other people. Now for the slightly more fun part of the how-to. Starting with who are you going to roleplay as? So we're going to build a character. Looking at anything, you want to know what their personality is going to be. Who is this character you're playing? Obviously, there's going to be physical characteristics within their description that you want. What tribe are they? Male, female, what do they look like? But the personality, and especially their motivations too, are going to be what drive the character's interactions with others. That, more than anything, is how people will respond, how you respond. And for me, it's what makes the roleplay interesting. For example, Silver Tongue. I like Gull himself. I can't stand Silver Tongue. Personally, Neon is in the opinion of offing Silver Tongue, the character. But that's because Gull plays Silver Tongue so well. That's his personality. That's who he is. His motivations are for the betterment of Equestria. But how he goes about that might be completely different than how someone else goes about that. One thing people do tend to shy away from is overpowered characters. No one, unless you're an actual alicorn or a godlike figure, no one really wants to play with a Mary Sue or a Gary Stu type character. One that is always in the know, one that is being played as a very meta character. It definitely, for me, it kills the mood, because what's the point in trying anything? If I try and kill a character and they successfully somehow avoid an inescapable thing, what's the point in continuing playing with this person? Backstory is something that can be fleshed out as you go. It's not completely vital. You don't actually have to have it. If you want to develop an in-depth character, you can start working on it as you roleplay and the character unfolds for you. Now that you've got your character, we're going to look at kind of just jumping into what is a massive ongoing roleplay with, I don't even know what's going on in there anymore. And it can be something as simple as a pink pony flies in, landing at the gate of the castle, looking for so-and-so. Simple as that. You appear looking for someone. Right there, you're introducing yourself. We've got a limited description, which can be discovered upon further roleplay. And you've already are working on establishing your first interaction with a person within that roleplay. It could even be something as complex as a full-on paragraph, giving in-depth description. They're flying in against a strong headwind, causing the flags on the castle's ramparts to flutter stiffly in the breeze. Landing softly, they size up the impressive guards before them, square their shoulders, and march resolutely forward. So you can get as detailed as you want, you can have it be as basic as you want, but it inserts you in a not necessarily a rude fashion within the roleplay itself, and gives people jumping off point should they wish to interact with your character. And interactions are definitely the key in this. That's what this roleplay is characters interacting with characters. Essentially, what we're doing is we're writing a story with everyone. It's not just you writing a story. It's me, it's Irie, it's Wing, it's Gull, it's Rust. It's everyone is writing this one story with stories within stories too. One thing to definitely keep in mind too is that you need to be mindful of other characters, what's going on with them, what's happened with them, if it's vital. An example would be when Starry Skies met Silvertongue for the first time, and there was a massive showdown that left her crying in the middle of the hall. That led to another interaction with Vigil. Both of these revolved around the one character, and two separate interactions, but it started with sadness and ended with a date in the end. So kind of knowing an idea of what's going on with your character, what's going on with the other character in question as well, can be very helpful with how you will respond and react. As usual, our social etiquette rules apply. You obviously don't want to run around calling everyone names. You don't want to be rude to them unless that is in your character. Jade brought in a couple of characters that were her OC's siblings that were, I would call them gruff, for lack of a better word, but that's who they were. Some could view it as being rude. I felt the part was very well played, but there's still social etiquette involved, and you're not just going to run around calling everyone names because you want to. If in doubt of anything, what's going on with the character, whether or not the scene would work, even if you want to just have a scene, send the user a private message. A lot of the scenes that I've been in have started with private messages. About 70% of what we do is behind the scenes. And that's obviously going to differ from person to person. But there's a lot that goes on in back channels. And it helps guide where everyone wants the scene to go. It helps start things. And it can help solve problems with characters as well. What it really helps do, though, is helps keep everything in check within the scene. So that way we're not just shattering everything that's been built. Another thing to keep in mind, too, for example, going back to Starry's first interaction with Silvertongue, that had a negative outcome for my character. So there are things that could lead to negative outcomes. In this case, she was left crying at a hallway intersection. Granted, that was corrected later on, almost immediately thereafter, but not everything's going to be happy. Silvertongue had his back broken by an angry Vigil. It's not all necessarily fun and games like in real life. One thing that could be viewed as a help or a hindrance overall overall in this is an emotional investment in your character. Personally, I tend to be somewhat emotionally detached from my characters. There are those that feel an emotional investment is worth it. But bear in mind, those negative outcomes for your character will affect you emotionally as well in real life. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. I've seen characters leave the RP. I've talked people out of leaving the RP who were so emotionally invested that they couldn't see a way out of this. A lot of you wouldn't have seen that because, once again, with the back channel dealings. But whether or not you wish to be emotionally invested, that is up to you. As I said before, this is just a very, very, very short starting point for this. I've been doing this for 20 plus years between actual roleplay, text-based, and a lot of Dungeons and Dragons. And there is so much more to it than this, but I feel that this is a good starting point for those that wish to join us. And by all means, we are always looking for more people to join us. If you have questions, please feel free to shoot me a message. You can at me in the channels, and I'll gladly respond when I can, thanks to my weird hours. But overall, it's meant to be fun. It's meant to be enjoyable. Bear in mind, a person's definition of fun is different. Mine is different than goals, because I, for one, tend to favor the lighthearted RP, while I've noticed he can favor the more political, heavier RPs that will have far-reaching consequences for numerous characters. And I believe that concludes my presentation for today. Are there
Hurrah!
any that's okay. Are there any questions?
Questions in text in the public channel on the right. We'll give that a few minutes, folks. And Neon, thank you very much. And excellent, you kept to time. Very, very much appreciated. And then we are going to do the Q&A here in just about a minute. We'll give a chance if anyone has any roleplay questions.
Wing actually just asked a question in the live event channel.
That's because Wing doesn't know how to follow instructions. No, go ahead.
Wing says, it's a bit beyond RP 101, but I think those of us here could gain benefit from observations on the potential use of RP for longer stories as well. I, for one, can tell you for a fact that I know of a few stories that have been written based around RPs that are ongoing to this day. For example, Wing's latest story, No Longer Displaced, essentially started with roleplay, and I'm not entirely certain how much of it was from continuing of that. But roleplay can be an excellent, excellent tool to write a story. I'm using it to help get launching points for a story I'm working on. Actually, two stories. One that I need to start and one that I've already started have been based off of roleplay. It can easily be a way to flesh out characters, write actual scenes, start scenes. It can be a great tool for more than just entertainment. I hope that answers your question, Wing.
Indeed. Okay. Okie dokie. We are going to start the Q&A. Let me let everybody know to post in live questions.
Rosby has a question here.
Okay, you can ask Rosby.
Falling into the trap of making the same character over and over. For that, I would definitely say, let's say, for example, I'll use myself. When I play Dungeons & Dragons, I tend to favor a magic user. For about the first 10 years, that's all I played exclusively. To the point where I had built an entire set of lore, regardless of what campaign I was in, for my characters. And after a certain point, you get tired of being comfortable in that. You look to branch out with other things. So for characters, it would be, instead of a magic user, now I'm changing races. I'm changing what they're doing. I'm changing who they are. And it definitely forces you to leave that comfort zone and start thinking outside the box. But definitely start with what you're most comfortable with. So if you're most comfortable with this one particular person until you feel ready to move on, then by all means stick with it. Now, if you've got 8 of the exact same character playing at the same time in the same setting, then that can just get a bit tedious. And you can definitely work with others to help build a different character other than what you've already got. I hope that helps, Rosby. It was my pleasure. Like I said, if you all have questions, feel free to shoot me a PM.
Thank you, Neon. We appreciate that very, very much.
I guess I'll use this as a moment to ask you, Neon, since you are our now role-playing expert. The thing you mentioned of basically the different dichotomy role-playing styles, how do you feel about that? Having people who prefer more lighthearted and other people who prefer more dark. Should one be enforced, or should it just kind of all mingle together, or?
Personally, I'm a fan of letting it mingle because that's like real life. Honestly, as much as I wish everything in my life was sunshine and rainbows, there's been a lot of crap that's happened to me. A lighthearted RP can be fun. However, there will be times where people are just going to grow tired of it to a point where things need to be broken up. Now, then the same thing can be applied to heavy RP. If there's too much political intrigue, too much negativity, suspense, suspicion, interjecting lightheartedness can break that up as well and make it more fun for everyone. I personally feel that it is a good thing to mix the two, but that's also my personal preference.
Okay.
Just because those darker, heavier elements are there, if you're looking for lighthearted, you don't have to interact. That's the beauty of RP. You don't have to interact with these elements. You don't have to interact with characters you don't like. There are characters, personally, that I am not a fan of that I won't interact with unless a scene calls for it. I don't want to put myself in a position where I will upset the other person, where I will make it less fun for anyone. It's all about it's okay. It's all about the choices that you make that will affect you, the person, and you, the character.
That is very helpful for me. Since I'm not involved in our Q&B RPG, it's kind of nice to have someone who have those opinions spoken out loud. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Not a problem.
Okie dokie. All right, folks. Let's see about some questions.
And yes, thank you, Neon. Just to make sure that is said to you.
I was glad to help, and I'm glad I finally got to do this when I proposed it back in October.
We are too. Okie dokie. So let's start. Shaza asks, or says, we all know what a Wiffleman is. Or if we don't, it's being certified to use your wife as a ranged weapon in a military capacity a la Shining Armor and Cadence. We all know that Silent is one. Is he? Who among Winterspirit Iridescence is the Whiffler, and who is the Whifflee? Well, I feel like if Winterspear threw Iridescence off of a castle, that would just end up in a splatter. So I'm going to go ahead and say that Iridescence is the thrower and Winterspear is the throwee.
Shatso would like to point out that the proper pronunciation is Wifelman.
Wifelman?
Because it's a wife.
Oh, sure. I
and
like
also,
Whiffler.
rifle.
Whatevs. I'm Southern.
That's no excuse. So, Ansel, which of the 11 Equestrias did Luna and by extension Silent visit first?
According to the original Displaced lore, the original Equestria that they visited first was Gender Swap Equestria, where Princess Luna was obviously a dude and Silent was obviously a chick. And in that particular one, Silent Dame is a Wonderbolt and has a big mouth. So I think the line I wrote was, when they meet Silent Night, they kind of laugh, and the male and female Celestia and Luna are like, they finally ask her, like, why are you laughing so much? Like, because even though she's named Silent Dame, she's never been silent in her life. And basically, Silent Dame and Luna, or male Luna, are an item. Crystal. Through a twist of fate, Rosby Waves has become an alicorn. What does she do next?
Oh lord, why are we asking me? Rosby is no longer with us, so I guess we're asking me. Probably would become the alicorn of, like, storms. And just go on a rampage of just like, oh, you're happy? Psh, now it's raining on your day. And then, the elements of harmony would have to come turn her into a cloud. she'd get banished to clouds. And then every few days there'd be just the rain would be like, oh, Nightmare Rosby, Nightmare Waves is crying again. That would be the Alicorn story of Rosby. Ansel Posted asks, why does Val have the alias Maya? Why was it chosen?
So that's actually a runic question, and he has a lot of thought process behind it, but we haven't talked about it in a long time, so I've got to kind of put it together. I think Maya is a synonym or related to basically blending in or being kind of unobtrusive, and that's why he chose it. And of course, that's kind of her 007 or M, however you want to call it, spy name.
If you Google the word Maya, one of the top results will be a Wikipedia article that is Maya parentheses illusion.
There you go. That's why he chose it. All right. Let's see. This one is. Well, why don't you just ask the next one because it's at me, and then I'll ask you the at yous.
What? You don't want to talk to yourself? Okay. HE23T asks, are you and Crystal Wishes a couple in IRL?
Yes. I know it's been a secret we've kept for a long time, but yes, we are married. We live in the same house. We occasionally do things together. Adult happy fun times.
Did you have to go that far? I mean, really?
Crystal, Charismaladin asks, where would be the best place to send physical fan mail?
Unfortunately, as Posted has noted, I am pulling these Ask Us questions that have been sitting in the backlog for quite a while, so I'm sure this person will probably not hear the answer to this, but I have to resort to my bodyguard Ansel on this topic. Ansel?
We have a business PO box that we are happy to give out. We can put that out there. It's at a post office in a different jurisdiction than our own. We ship things to and from it, and we've always ran our internet businesses out of that. Crystal Zier asks, what is Crystal Wishes' greatest regret?
Her greatest regret was letting Midnight Poem go.
Yes. In the unofficial canon, he's dead.
Okay,
because people asked about him too much.
Crystal Wishes' greatest canon regret. Probably, if I had to pick like something that would be a great regret for her, would have to relate to something to do with her parents. Just the relationship they have ranges between they're getting along, they're not getting along, probably not finding common ground sooner, probably not moving out sooner because that exacerbated things. Probably something to do with her parents. I mean, that's what it all boils down to, right? We all have mommy daddy issues. That's reality. Enzo's just staring at me.
Ha. All right, yeah, you're supposed to ask me the next questions.
Oh, that's right. Sorry, I just was, yeah. Zier asks, does Dolly still have the calendar with Sunny's picture in it hanging at the Mercantraire?
No, not outside. I think she still has it in the office, but since, it's went on, she keeps it in the office just to embarrass Sunny on occasion, but it's not on the wall.
And then Anonymous asks, how often, if ever, does the Royal Guard have to deal with organized crime?
Not extremely often. We have not a lot of organized crime in Equestria because of the great social systems and extreme education. So it does happen because there's always going to be some bad apples. And but no, it doesn't happen a lot. All right, you ask me one more, then I got two for you.
Yes, sir. Ansel, your impression of Mango in the YouTube video, Mango in the Snow, sounds exactly like one of the unicorns from Charlie the Unicorn. Are you secretly planning a trip to Candy Mountain without us?
Well, if I was secretly planning it, then if I told you, it wouldn't be a secret, and therefore I can't answer the question. But the short answer is Crystal and I have given up candy quite a bit. We're reining it in, so no.
Help me.
Crystal, Is there a story behind why all of your stories have had even word counts, or do you just like pretty numbers?
So I have the story written down on somewhere on a blog somewhere, but the basic gist is it when I posted the first chapter of Crystal's Wishes, it happened to land on an even word count, and I was like, "Huh, that's cool. I wonder if I can keep doing that." And it just kind of continued from there. And it's one of those things where you start doing something, and because you keep doing it, you sort of like, well, I can't stop now. I'm too far committed. I can't stop now. And now it's to the point where I posted a side story that had an uneven word count, and like a third of the comments on it weren't about the story. It was just about how the fact that the chapter was not an even word count. So it's no longer me, guys. I'm being held captive.
Crystal, have any coworkers at your new job become secret fans of Q&B?
Oh, lordy. Lordy, lordy. I want to pause before I answer that question. And Shatsa is asking about No Longer Displaced that talks about Silent's adventures in the other Equestrias. I think there might be some miscommunication maybe there. There is a story called No Longer Displaced by the wonderful Wing and his friend. It is great. There's also, which Erie just linked, Night and Day, which is sort of a side canon, not uncanon, but Q&B universe, like AU kind of thing, which delves into the whole thing about being alternate Equestrias.
Yes. In the particular case of, there was originally a memoirs sequel that is not Secrets. So that's something I need to I know there is a memoir sequel that is Secrets of a Royal Guard, but there was a memoirs sequel that was just Memoirs 2. And it was I had the choice between shifting more towards trying to tell an adventure story versus just sticking almost strictly slice of life like memoirs. And the second memoir story involved them jumping through the portals and doing that for a while, kind of like as a character of the week type thing. And it just didn't grasp my interest, and I did not go that route. So that's where that came from. But that should not be confused with the story that Wing is telling. Kind of like Quantum Leap, but it's also kind of like the comic books, if you've read the My Little Pony comic books. It never actually happened, that's correct, but I probably wrote 20, 30,000 words before I was just like, I don't want to do this. And some of that came out as Night and Day. So Night and Day is part of that, but there was more. There's a really dark one where Silent goes to a world that was dominated by Nightmare Moon and befriends her, and ultimately,
Befriends air quotes.
yes, befriends her in one way because he replaces the evil Silent Night and kind of loses his stuff. No, I'm really not, because it's just rough. It's not. It's not a story. It's 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 just not a story. It's not like I wrote it and didn't like it. It's I put together a bunch of notes, put together a few things, and the other thing is I might use it at some point for a one-off, especially as I move post trials and things. So I don't know yet, because like I said, Night and Day turned out to be something I was really proud of, and I had a lot of fun doing it. Anyway, back to the actual line. But again, feel free to ask questions about this stuff, y'all. That's what the questions are for.
Okay, what was my question? My question was, oh, I remember now, coworkers. So my first day on the job, they take me out to lunch, as is usually tradition for, the new employee. And my uh, basically the guy who onboarded me, my quote unquote mentor coworker, turns to me at the lunch table with all these people who I've literally just met and goes, "So, what's this Q&B or Quill and Blade thing?" I'm like, "Really, dude? I don't want to talk about ponies in front of all these guys." Because if you know my name, You can get to my LinkedIn profile. You can get to our stuff. It's not that hard to stalk me. We have very unique names. So he did some very easy stalking for the interview, and as part of that, found out about Quill and Blade, which I'm not super embarrassed about. It's just not the first thing I want someone to know about me, literally right off the bat. So, yeah, I talked about Quill and Blade like first day. I don't know if they are fans. I don't know if anyone reads it. I don't know, but they know about it. They are all aware it exists. They think it's pretty cool that we have the Patreon that makes money from it. It's pretty cool. But yeah, that was my like first day. Yeah, they may be in the channel, so like I can't bad talk any of my coworkers in here anymore. They might find out. Actually, no, if they went to my fanfiction, they'd see my posting. They don't know about the even word count. They don't need to know I'm crazy or being held hostage. They don't know about that. They may, as programmers, appreciate that. It hasn't come up. So that's the basic gist. They may be secret fans. If they're secret fans, then they're secret, and I don't know about it. They are not overt fans or public fans. So moving on, Ansel and Crystal. This is Ansel. This is very little me. How much world building have you done for the parts of the world outside Equestria and Saddle Arabia? Do you ever plan to write something for these locations, aside from Beyond the Veil for Saddle Arabia?
So let's talk about that a little bit. Now, Saddle Arabia we've done a lot for. And Crystal and Rosby and and we've gotten input from a couple people like our Saddle Arabia is very well put together, I would say. Wouldn't you say so?
Saddle Arabia is awesome.
Yes, we've put a lot of time and effort into it so that when we tell our next story, we've really deep dived into it, especially since we're not having to write it as a serial and we can kind of plan things. So Saddle Arabia has a lot. We've put a lot of time into the Griffin kingdoms, even if it didn't necessarily all come across, especially since some of the kingdoms aren't directly related. But we've put a lot of time into that, and I think that's good. As far as outside of that, not a ton. We do have a Quill and B canon reason behind Changelings, and I will just go ahead and say right out the bat that it doesn't match any fanon I've ever seen, especially since most of the fanon is the same. But they're not bugs. There's no hives. There's not multiple hives. None of that happens. So we've put a decent amount of time into the Changelings in the event we ever want to use them. But I'm sure we would immediately catch on fire if we did them because they go so against the grain just because we didn't want to go with the grain. Changelings to me are like zombies, and I don't begrudge anybody that writes them. I think it's perfectly fine. It's just I don't want to be beholden to fanon, and I certainly don't want to be beholden to canon with the new changelings. So that's just out. So the changelings have a decent amount of explanation to them, but most of the time has been spent working through history, like backwards through Equestria, and that's where most of our time is. Other things like zebras, we haven't spent a lot of time on. They're out there somewhere. We haven't spent a lot of time on that. Foreign ponylands that are actually part of Equestria, we haven't spent a ton of time on. We kind of joke about them, talk about them, but they're not a lot of stuff. So that's kind of there. And then others things, not a lot. Obviously, dragons and dragon culture has a lot, but that's where a lot of time was spent as well. We put a lot of time and effort into dragon culture. Anything else you can think of on that one?
I will note that one of the several projects that I've signed myself up for has been to expand the universe pages on quillandblade.com. This is relevant to Kalani Nightwing, which is Artifactica. I don't know exactly what you want me to call you. Asking about any plans for Kieran's and or Napon. I'm not going to speak to Kieran's, but Napon, in Wishes, it's called Jiban, which Jib is an equestrian, as in like pony, real world horse equestrian term. So that's what we have called it for us. If you explore what little is currently there but is growing of the universe page, it has subpages on the menu, including the languages page, which I am going to link, that has some more of those kind of cultural things for anyone who is interested.
All right, Crystal, What kind of pet would Crystal and Silent get, if any?
Oh, what kind of pet? Crystal has said before that she finds herself a little too selfish to a cactus, yes. A cactus. Because she can get lost in her writing and as she's exactly it's a cactus because she can't kill that and she's worried that she's a little too wrapped up in her writing and all of her other stuff that a pet might get neglected.
Silent probably would not get a pet because he feels like he's too busy to be a responsible pet owner. But if he was not too busy to be a responsible pet owner, he would probably get a wife. Crystal, how many ponies want to be Red Velvet's special sun pony?
When Red Velvet becomes of the age where ponies start to look at other ponies as not just who wants to run around the sandbox or go digging in the dirt, but as the I kind of want to hold your hooves and you're kind of cute. As soon as that happens, Red Velvet finds himself the most popular pony in class and and would like to all of them would like to be his very special sun pony. However, he has his eyes on his own very special sun pony. Ansel, can you tell what the hearts and hooves plans of some of the Q&B characters are?
I can. So, Dot has a date with 5 stallions that have all agreed that they would go out with her together in the Bachelorette style game show where at the end she will hopefully pick one to take to the spring formal. That's what Dot's doing. Winterspear and Iridescence are so grateful that Dot's gone that they have the most romantic evening that any parent can have. And they're going to sit on the couch, listen to music, and have a quiet dinner without Dot and a ton of stallions running about their place. Silent will surprise Crystal with a quiet night out on the palace roof where he will not wear his armor, but he will show her how strong he's gotten and fly her up there even with his busted wing, where they will sit and hang out.
Ooh, I'm trying to think. Velvet's hearts and hooves plans are to go to the bar and see who's lonely tonight. Golden's hearts and hooves plans are to basically imply to her, stallion servant, Dusty Mite, that she wants nothing and she will gladly enjoy the fact that she is alone and independent and strong, and then will probably yell at him when he didn't bring her any chocolate or flowers. I'm trying to think of who else that I have that wasn't covered by Ansel. Horsey and Savoir as those who are.
He's going to get her pregnant again.
He's going to get her pregnant again. The end.
All right, let's see here. How many questions do we let Erie ask? As many as he wants until time runs out, which we are getting close on time. This one will not be a full 2-hour event because my parents are roaming about my city without us, and we have to go stop them from destroying it, Godzilla style.
Ansel, would it be accurate to say that entering a memory crystal is like entering a dream?
Yes and no. So let's start with the no. The no part is dreams can often make little or no sense, whereas I can be in my house at one moment and then in somewhere else at the next. In the same way, also, that I can be in a place that is not my house, but in the dream have the full understanding that this is my house. So that part, not exactly, but also similar. Now, the memories themselves, unless we're talking about a fundamental, as in like you're entering a dream, as in are you asleep and your experience of that. The short answer for that is yes. The body is paralyzed while the mind enters the crystal, and you relive the dream itself. Both sight, smell, feeling, anything that the person could remember is all available to you. So that is something to think about. Also, the memory will linger in your memory as if you had lived it for a short period of time before degrading. Memories that were from other people degrade faster than our own, but of course, rewatching it solves that.
Ansel, are there any plans for the exemplar to get a special sun pony?
Well, that would be awful spoilery. So, now, The exemplar, of course, is pretty old. She was loved once. Anything could happen in a pony world, you never know. But as far as direct plans, I don't think we'll share because that's a spoiler. But I would have to say that there's a lot of other things going on in the story right now. So I will say that probably not going to happen in Trials.
Ansel, hope it isn't prying, but where did the three-way relationship between Sunny, Soren, and Azu come from? If it's too personal, feel free to ignore me.
So this is a fun one. When I set out to write Three of Hearts, what I wanted to do was write an anti-rom-com. So I wanted to try writing a story start to finish without it being a serial, and I wanted to have it be different. So the goal I did was I watched a couple rom-coms with Crystal over our relationship. She's not big into them, but we have seen a few. Plus, I'm just kind of familiar, and I thought, and it also comes up a lot in serial TV shows. Will they, won't they, all that bull crap.
He thinks I'm not into them, but I totally am.
So I wanted to write something that was the complete opposite of that. And what happened was, as I was getting towards the end and I was thinking, how do I want this to end? I'd always kind of planned it for it to end with her ending up with both of them. And that's kind of why. So there wasn't really like any other inspiration other than the fact that in a rom-com, they have to make the choice and it's always tough and blah, blah. And, screw that. Azu gets both. The end.
Ansel, what is your greatest moment or something? IDK, how to word this, from EU4, or was it CK2 that you started playing?
I play Crusader Kings 2. And I would say my greatest moment most recently was I was playing a lunatic and I outlawed the wearing of pants and demanded that they all be burnt and spread upon the ashes of our forefathers. That was pretty entertaining. I would say my most successful moment was when I accidentally took over all of Greece without trying due to my huge contribution in the Crusades. So I took over all of Greece when I was like, I only owned 4 counties prior. So that was kind of interesting. Crystal, as a follow-up question to Red Velvet's special sun pony, how many does Dot have? I understand this may be just on average.
I'm sorry, Shatsa. Apparently, you have me confused with Ansel. Dot is not actually my character, so I'm offended.
Indeed. Indeed. Dot is non-committed in general. She feels that she is a young free spirit and it's just too soon to be tied down by a stallion. I mean, after all, she hasn't even finished high school, or as it's called in Quill and Blade, Academy. So what really happens is stallions are more interested in being with Dot than Dot's interested in being with stallions. So they follow her around like puppies. So at any given time, somewhere between 5 and 12.
Ansel, re the Memory Crystal versus Dreams. Silverblade follows up, saying, I was thinking more along the lines of the ability for those with the knowledge to be able to influence you being exposed to dream manipulation.
So if I am to understand correctly, can memory crystals be influenced externally? No. As in, if I'm in a memory crystal, can it be changed? It cannot. It is what it is. Could a pony influence a pony with a memory crystal? Yes, in the sense that if you put in a memory, kind of like what Nimbus Knight did, and it would be tough because again, a pony has to willfully watch it, so that's a struggle. That's a challenge. Crystal, what message would you leave in a memory crystal for your ancestors if you could?
Ooh, interesting. What message would I leave for my ancestors? I'd probably put into Memory Crystal of all these. Probably start with what I don't want to go into too much would be a sad memory, and then follow it up with all of these wonderful memories I can remember of laughing with Ansel and all these things, and then end it with kind of the message of don't give up. There's someone out there and it's worth waiting for. I would want my ancestors to never give up on love. Oh wait, ancestors. We're talking. I'm thinking predecessors. No wait. Which way does it go?
Our ancestors are the people that came before us. But
Well,
that may not have been the question. I think Bert meant me descendants, which yes, that's what you've done it right.
I did it right.
Yes.
Okay, your turn.
Is it? What would I leave? I would instill the values of that I believe to be my family's values. Remind people of that. Talk about that. I don't believe that you can do anything in life. I think that's a load of crap. I believe that you can do anything in life that you're willing to work for, and that hard work is more important than being smart, and hard work is more important than anything other than getting a trust fund. But other than that, I would try to instill the work ethic that my parents instilled in me that led me to go from being a poor person to a lower middle class person to basically a lower upper class person, all in one generation. So I don't want my family to forget where we are. And, in particular, Crystal and I, when we do have children, are going to make sure that they're not trust fund babies and that they can't just be rich and lazy. We're literally going to keep the money away from them. And they're going to have to work and struggle like we did. It'll just be a big safety net.
And the last question from Larsis de Medici. Pony?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, folks. Thank you very much for the questions. And thank you very much for attending our Hearts and Hooves live event. We will be letting you know who the winner of the contest is. And when I say contest, I do mean the shipping contest, as in who can ship things the fastest or the best.
It's totally me.
Yes, so those are the 5 contenders that we will pick from.
It's going to be difficult. There's some good stuff in there. So as a note, if it is a canon pairing, such as Pepper Ridge and Sunbeam and Crystal and Silent, it will be a canon story. If it is one of the others, it will be a non-canon, but still romantic story.
Yes, indeed. Potentially canon to the AU. Okay. We have decided that we are going to talk over which one we want to do since it's a group effort, and we will come back with that shortly. And also, again, my parents are roaming about unsupervised. And if you have ever been a child to a set of parents that are in their 60s that are fun and adventurous, you can't leave them unsupervised. So, thank you all for coming. We hope you had a good time, as we always do. We will see you in March, where we will do a scene of the quarter voting. And that is going to wrap it up. So thanks everybody for being fans. Thanks for coming out, and we hope to see you next month.
I think the scene of the quarter voting should be the next month.
What?
Shouldn't it be April? Isn't April the next quarter?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay, next month, Nolly will have the scene of the quarter done for you to see.
Whoa. Signing her up for a commitment she didn't agree to.
There you go. That's how we do it here.
Oh, Lord. Well, I will say I will sign myself up for a commitment I can commit to when I do the highlights post for this live event. That is where I will announce which shipfic we will write for February 14th. That's it. That's all I'm signing myself up for. Bye.
Toodles.